Jane Mansfield in A Visit to Blackpool, England, September of 1959. Queen Elizabeth II meets Marilyn Monroe at London's Empire Theatre in 1956. Unknown lady lifting an impressive over 135 pounds overhead in the 1950s. The Bulgamma 3 vacuum tube computer from 1952 had 400 tubes and was considered quite compact at the time. A French Berlier CBA truck equipped with a gas generator, the boiler is located right next to the cab, transports huge wine barrels. France, 1926. A floating dock cannot fit into the Panama Canal and is moved on its side. 1945. Open-air confession, Poland, 1964. The Queen and Her Corgis, Scotland, 1976. Young Angelina Jolie in 11th grade. Leopold von Sacher-Masoch in the 1870s. The word masochist is derived from his name. The term was used in his lifetime and he did not approve. Bruce Lee and NBA basketball player Kareem Abdul-Jabbar during the filming of Game of Death, 1978. Alfred Hitchcock, Greg Vaughan and Vincent Price. The tracked vehicle shown in this photo carried tourists up the slopes of Mont d'Arbois in Megève, France, 1919. An experiment in teaching students under hypnosis. Students were put into a trance and listened to a recording of a lesson through headphones. Italy, 1963. A German soldier, buried under earth by a nearby aerial bomb, tries to escape. He's indeed alive. There's newsreel footage of the scene, showing him clearing away the earth with his hand. A Fox Cub guards a Ford, 1940, Chicago, United States. B-Fashion, 1900s. Ammunition carrier, Nigerian Civil War, 1968. American pathologist and medical examiner Frederick Zugib conducts an experiment to determine the cause of Christ's death, 1984. Prisoners of the Ampfing concentration camp after liberation. Halloween costumes, 19th century. Boris Karloff as Frankenstein, sipping tea, 1931. One-man band, China, 1960s. The only known photograph of Grizzly Adams, the legendary California mountain man and bear trainer who died from injuries after losing a wrestling match with a bear. (1969). As buildings burn, British Army troops patrol the streets after being deployed to end the Battle of the Bogside in Londonderry, Northern Ireland. Lumberjack Championship in Tillamook, Oregon, United States, 1941. Shaquille O'Neal brings down the backboard on himself during a game against the Nets, April 23, 1993. Winter fishing on the Ural River, 1893. An Aleut hunter wearing traditional waterproof clothing made from sea lion guts, Alaska, 1905. A young woman driving a miniature pedal car on a street in Washington, D.C. in 1924. The research vessel cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov of the USSR Academy of Sciences in the port of Yalta, Ukrainian SAR, USSR, 1970. Pakistan Airlines advertisement, 1979. English children learn carols for Christmas. A reference photo of Marilyn Monroe back when she was known as Norma Jean Baker, taken in 1946 by pin-up artist Earl Moran. (1947), the British colony of Zanzibar, an exhausted nanny with her charge, Farrokh Bulsara. A quarter of a century later, this boy would take the stage name Freddie Mercury. 1971. Pedestrians walk past soldiers crouched on a street corner. Conflicts broke out in Belfast in reaction to the British government's August 9th decision to make it possible to send alleged members of the IRA to prison without a trial. Brooke Shields demonstrating that the view from the back seat can still stop traffic, 1980s. Prince Charles with his bodyguard. At the time, the heir to the throne was studying at Cambridge. To prevent his classmates from bothering him too much, he was required to be accompanied by a bodyguard. The original and creepy Minnie and Mickey Mouse costumes in 1939, before Walt Disney had them redesigned for Disneyland in 1955, female baseball during the Postwar, photo of 1947. Polar Explorer, 1909. This is how witnesses used to testify against the Mafia, 1969. Captain Herbert Sobel, of Band of Brothers infamy, with his infant son, around 1946. (1983), Boston bartenders pour vodka in protest of the Soviet Union's downing of a Korean airliner. A bleak aerial photograph taken during a low-level attack on 2 German trawler-type auxiliaries south of Heligoland by Bristol bow fighters of the North Coast Strike Wing, September 17, 1944. Ernesto Che Guevara driving an American car with his second wife, Alida March, on their wedding day in Havana, 1959. Ladies and gentlemen come for a swim at Nantasket Beach, Massachusetts, 1920s. The wedding of Arthur Oxford and Georgina Wright of Barking Road taking their wedding vows in the bombed-out church of St Bartholomew's Church in East Ham, London, 1941. Skiing with rifles, Norway, 1910s. Wall of shame photos and names of girls who cheated on their boyfriends during their service. Union of Soviet Socialist Republics Navy, 1980s. Andre the Giant in the main event of WrestleMania 3, 1987. Men pulling a cart with bread. Which ghetto, renamed Litzmannstadt by Nazi Germany, occupied Poland, 1942. Men of the Babara people, Belgian Congo, 1924. They believe this way of curling the upper lip is very beautiful and attractive to women. A giant plane with 9 wings. Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox and Lisa Kudrow in a promo image for Friends, 1985. An American young girl, Jan Rose Casimir, confronts the American National Guard outside the Pentagon during the 1967 anti-Vietnam March. This march helped to turn public opinion against the United States war in Vietnam. Washington, D.C., United States. 1967. Halloween 1910s. In 1989, Milton Bradley released Trump the Game, a board game centered on buying and selling high-value real estate to accumulate wealth, similar in style to Monopoly. Double amputee Ralph Neppel being kissed by fiancée Jean Moore after receiving the Medal of Honor from President Truman, August 1945. Early London Underground. Norma Jean Mortensen, also known as Marilyn Monroe, posing in the 1940s. Bonnie and Clyde. Kids watching the eclipse of sun, 11 of September 1923. Elke Sommer was an American actress of German descent born in the 1950s. Three African-American women at the State Fair, St. Paul, Minnesota, 1903. Madonna photographed by Ken Regan for People magazine, 1985. Cell phone call 970s night in California. Meryl Streep at 1360. This is what a Volvo car looked like in 1973. An electroencephalogram for Albert Einstein. Scientists decided to examine the brain of their brilliant colleague. 1950. A training class for potential Playboy bunnies, 1965. "11-year-old Natalie Portman on the set of the film Leon." Conquistador fall. An indigenous man topples a statue of Spanish conquistador Diego de Mazariegos on the 500th anniversary of the discovery of America. Chiapas, Mexico, 1992. Marilyn Monroe, 1953. Theodore Roosevelt Jr. with Eli Yale, a hyacinth macaw in the White House Conservatory. 1902. The Chinese celebrate the successful testing of their first atomic bomb, 1964. A taxi rank for white people, 1967. Actress Alexandra Bastedo was a British sex symbol in the 1970s. Steven Spielberg at work. Nuns from a Buddhist monastery wear unusual hairstyles woven with strands of wool from local sheep. Signs in both English and Afrikaans in Johannesburg, 1957. Over 400 Navajo Marines served during World War II and created an unbreakable code from their language that allowed for rapid, complex communication that saved countless lives and contributed significantly to American victories 1940s. James Bucky Welch, who lost both arms at age 7 while saving the family dog from an oncoming train, 1964. The Seine floods in front of the Saint-Lazare station, Paris, 1910. A traffic controller with Christmas gifts, Barcelona, 1970. The tradition was beloved throughout Europe, but was especially revered in Spain. (1985), a Fool's Road mural warns informers against betraying the nationalist community. Hilda John and her 6-year-old cat Thomas O'Malley, who weighed 19 kilograms. England, 1977. Zarkanen, 1883. Jesse Owens trains aboard the SS Manhattan en route to the Berlin Olympics. B-17G Flying Fortress damaged over Germany. During the bombing of Cologne, an anti-aircraft shell exploded on the nose of the aircraft, destroying instruments and equipment. CA 1944. The cockpit of an American B-24 bomber damaged by a Japanese anti-aircraft shell on January 27, 1945. Adolf Hitler with his German Shepherd Blondie, 1937. Woman Shooting Club. Kendall Green Bicycle Club, United States, 1884. Royal Fish-Shaped Boat, India, 1857. Giuseppe Zangara, after his arrest in custody of the police. The one on the right is holding the revolver used by Zangara, who attempted to assassinate the President-elect of the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt, on February 15, 1933. Activists demonstrate how to behave in the event of a nuclear strike, Hamburg, 1963. Kirk Douglas braids Brigitte Bardot's hair at the Cannes Film Festival in 1953. Give me 5 years and you will not recognise Germany again, World War II. The Dornier Doe X, the world's largest flying boat. It had a wingspan of 157 feet, 48 metres, and length of 130 feet, 40 metres, was powered by 12 engines and carried 169 passengers. 1929. Icelandic singer Björk and Maxim Gorky, Moscow, 1989. A women's basketball team, 1900. They played in long-sleeved dresses and corsets. A man rescues a child from a flooded building in London during the 1928 flood. Trike in the late 1890s, with pedals and rudimentary transmission and directional by a lever, 1890. South African police officers beat women with batons in Durban, South Africa, on April 17, 1962, as they ransacked and set fire to a brewery in protest against police action to ban home brewing. Members of a German unit pose with violators of the racial purity law, 1935. Marilyn Monroe on the beach, 1949. A mother and child prepare food while wearing gas masks. French countryside, World War I. Nuns on the Run, 1971. Icelandic giant Johan Kristin Pettersson, Stimfes. The first known photograph of an elephant, 1850. A child on a bicycle tries to use a payphone. A screaming crowd of teenage girls is detained by police before an Elvis Presley concert, 1956. Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip dance to country music in Ottawa, Canada, 1951. An Indigenous girl carries a caiman on her head, Brazil, 1985. A sad girl standing by the ruins of a building which is flying a British flag after the bombing of Battersea, London by German forces January 1945. Opening of the fountains in Peterhof, 1983. Picketers demonstrate in front of Fontaine Ferry Park in Louisville, Kentucky, over the amusement park's whites-only policy, 1961. A looter with stolen diapers during the Los Angeles riots, 1992. Pushball game Canada, 1925.